the other part that I asked you about, that if you go through this pain or all kind of abuse that you are going through, how to change that, how to get through that. Especially these days, I found a lot of people lost their beloved ones, and you couldn't communicate with your friends because of the coronavirus. If you have a children, you couldn't go out, so you have a problem with your kids as well, because of because you don't want to lose your children if they or if they catch a coronavirus or something like this. How can they deal with something like that? Because we use that during healing, you always surrounded yourself with your friends. Now it's not an option. So what?
Yes, I mean, many people found themselves in that to be multitasking, meaning they become nurses, they become doctors, they become parents, they become everything. So, but one thing is, luckily for all of us, we have access to technology. So we might have coronavirus, but none of us really were totally disconnected. You know, internet around the world was working. You know, it's not like something is not working. So, and majority of people have mobile phones, they have iPads, they have computers, they have access to some form of information that can help them through that. But also there was a lot of support for many people out there who needed going through coronavirus, where they can pick up the phone and call and speak to somebody. But if you can't do it, or you don't want to do it, and you're at home stuck with your child or stuck with somebody, the first thing, it's about really remaining in yourself in balance. Why is that important? Because you don't want to lower your immune system. You know, just the way we go to an airplane, the mask first goes to the parent. It does not go to the child, because if there's a crash, they both die. Yeah. So similarly, if you are finding yourself in coronavirus and you're finding yourself, your children are ill, you must look after as a parent first yourself, because then you have the energy and you have the skills, and you build the skills to support your children through that. So, you know, when you find yourself in those things, it's the reality is we have the ability to respond to any situation and to adapt very quickly. And that's what most people around the world have been doing. They've been adapting to a new way of living while this coronavirus pandemic is sweeping the world and creating a chaos. But also as part of nature, when there's a curse, there's a blessing. So that some form of blessing will come out of all of this, where people will realize maybe because who's close to them. You know, a lot of people realize what relationship truly means to them. And if through this period people have not been in touch, or they haven't kept, a lot of people say, well, you're not worth spending my time anymore because you weren't there for me. So a lot of people will start to realize what is meaningful to them. And hopefully correct their course, and hopefully go back and see what is it that I value, and does my reality represent what I value. If it doesn't, take the steps that you need to take in order for you to match your outer reality and your inner reality.
Okay, that's very interesting. About the relationship now, these days, we can talk about this. We can use you because we are writing down something about relationships, so we can use him on our project, Michael.
Yeah.
So, I mean, relationship, first of all, it's the most important part is for people to have a relationship with themselves. And unfortunately, most people don't really go through the process of an awakening. You know, Mike was sharing earlier on, he had the process of awakening, spiritual awakening in himself, and recorrected his course to really do what he loves. And when you do something what you love, and you have that inner, I would say, you feel content with yourself, and you feel fulfilled, and you're doing something meaningful. And if you are dating somebody who's at the same level of awareness, you can really grow into a beautiful relationship. But most people, when they start a relationship, they have a fantasy about who the other person is, meaning they only accept the good parts of that person. And as the bad parts starts revealing themselves, which naturally they do in a relationship, they start, instead of working through those things, they expect the other person to be something that their imagination has created. And this is the biggest problem in any relationship in the world. When I start working with people around relationships, if I'm coaching them specifically, the first thing I will do is break all their fantasies of expecting somebody to be one-sided. And I talk about in the Unfakeable Code, there's a chapter specifically about relationship and about love. And I'm talking about the biggest toxic, I would say, poison that we have. It's a biased opinion about a relationship, where we expect the person to always be good, never bad, to always be giving, never be selfish, to always be truthful, never telling lies. You know, those are states that every human being possesses. And the moment two people are aware of the journey, of the transformational journey within, and they can do it openly, transparently, they can have a beautiful relationship, because they're not expecting the other person to be what the imagination is, but they love them for truly who they are, and they love them for truly who they are. So you have this unique bond, unique relationship where two souls meet one another, and they're not there to compete. They're there to reveal safely their disempowered states so they can heal together and grow together.
Yes, totally agree with you. And
That's beautiful.
Make sense, Mike?
Yeah.
I think we want to talk more about your new book. And
The Unfakeable Code?
Yes, Unfakeable Code.
Okay. The Unfakeable Code, in the last, since I launched my first book that became 7 times international bestselling on Amazon, I started doing work globally and to work with people in business as leaders, creating products, services, helping people with mental health, helping people heal from OCD, from epilepsy, working with people, either helping them divorce with love or get back together, or help people actually find a meaningful relationship or create wealth. So I spent last 6 years serving thousands of people around the world. And as an engineer who spent almost 30 years in study and research, I wanted to create just the way we consistently up-to-date our technology. We update our apps on our mobile phones, we update our computers and everything else. Unfortunately, majority of people, of humanity, they live in a caveman psychology. And I wanted to create a similar code, like the computer code, that people can follow to consistently upgrade their psychology and make it extremely simple. And in the Unfakeable Code, I laid down 5 principles. One is 5 principles for behavioral change and how to help people change behaviors in order for them to create a very inspiring destiny. And the other one is 5 principles to live by every single day and to awaken that authentic leader. So it's about really unpeeling those masks we show to the world, the people we show on Instagram, on Facebook, the people who knows us when we are crying at home, when we are lonely, and the people we love and people who loves us as we are naked, you know, and they don't really expect us to be one way or the other, but they always walk the journey with us. So there's a need for authenticity in business. There's a need for authenticity in leadership. There's a need for authenticity in healthcare, in education, but also when it comes to every social structure. But most importantly, for us to be authentic with one another. And this is another problem around the world, that we've created so many problems because we are not being authentic. So I really wanted to write a book and to create a code that goes to billions of people out there, to be able to use those principles on daily basis to self-correct and awaken the authentic leader, the giant inside of us, and that intelligence that everybody has by design, so they can live their dreams, they can love their lives, they can have the relationship they want, and then richly create a vision which lasts for thousands of years. So they leave some form of legacy which is authentic to them, because every human being in the world is authentic.
Do you think that your new book can be a movie or a series?
Yes, I mean, all of my books are written in a way that every chapter can be a movie, can be a documentary, can be a workshop, can be a seminar, can be an educational program, and can be I would say, an exam in university. That's how I write. I choose to write. When I write something, I write it from almost this multidimensional awareness of what this can happen, because I'm extremely graphic when I describe certain things. Like, for instance, there's a part in the Unfakeable Code. I mean, that on its own, I could see it on a big screen, the Unfakeable Code, you know, just the title coming out. And I'm creating all original titles that no one has ever created down there, but equally processes as well. So it's authentic work. And like, for instance, one of the chapter when I describe how I came about creating a code for human psychology, I was 7 years old, and just that scene can be captured in one film, just the way that they did the movie, the guy who broke the Second World War code.
Okay.
So, you know, this is a different kind of reality, but every chapter has a graphic explanation of the character, of my clients who are real clients and not imaginary clients, of their transformational journey, and with each one of them, there's a specific problem, specific issue that through film and documentary, you can raise awareness around the world.
Yes, you said that you care about the mental health for the people and when they get divorced or something like this. What about the mental health for children?
Because yes, it's equally important. This is why I'm an ambassador for Children of Excellence for UN and Nowhere. That's one of my roles that I do, and this is why I want to infiltrate the method, which is in Path to Wisdom, TGSE method, 5 principles under acronym ALARM, in every educational system, starting from an early child, like as young as 5, basically. So, and if you imagine around the world, schools around the world implementing policies that basically, first of all, let's say if it's now we have the recent stuff, Black Lives Matter. If children from a very young age don't learn to distinguish people by color, by creed, by religion, by stuff like that, we're not going to have the problems we're having today. So therefore, you eradicate that from a very young age, people to be more open and more collaborative and more engaging with one another and actually encouraging each other's authenticity. This is going back to the Unfakeable Code again and Path to Wisdom. Because if you do that in every education system around the world, in 10 years, the entire society will change. And this is why I believe education is key in tackling mental health. Because without education, mental health will be very poor.